Osama Manzar is the founder and director of Digital Empowerment Foundation and Senior Ashoka Fellow, a social entrepreneur, author, columnist, impact speaker, angel investor, mentor. He sits on several government and policy committees in India and on international organizations, working in the areas of internet, access, and digital inclusion. Welcome, Mr. Manzar. I would request you to begin the conversation with your opening remarks, approximately 2 minutes, before we get into specific questions.
I would take a stance of questioning rather than answering as an approach, because we are discussing all this in the light of SDG Digital Acceleration Day. And it is a day I think we should introspect more than celebrate what we have done. Not denying the fact that there is a lot of reason to celebrate. So what I would like to highlight is that, when we call about digital public infrastructure, it's a public infrastructure we are talking about. I mean, that means we are talking about that infrastructure which can serve the masses, right? Not exclude the masses. And when we talk about digital public infrastructure, we are talking about digital being as a base of mass and public infrastructure. And therefore, it is important to see that who are the public? Where are those public? Out of 1.4 billion people in the country, in India and other places, how many of them are unconnected? If you talk about digital infrastructure, how many people do not have access, right? On one side, we say that UPI is a great enabler and payment system, which is absolutely undeniable. And I was looking at the data that out of 336 million people who has availed, 99% of 336 million people who have made payment through UPI, only 122 million people are from rural India, where the people live, out of 908 million people. That means it's a very small fraction of number of people who have used it or in a position to use it. Let me say that. Is the digital affordable to the people? Is digital infrastructure reachable to the people? Is digital infrastructure is a complete alternative to the brick and mortar infrastructure? Are we making rules and regulation which is digital only policies? Because if you make digital only policies, we are also actually making people get excluded. For example, marking an attendance by the NREGA, the people who are demanding 20 days of work, asking them that there is no alternative but to mark your attendance through a smartphone on the place by uploading the photograph of the location and your photograph of work is exclusion, because they don't have affordability, right? So while we are developing a digital infrastructure, are we parallelly excluding people or harassing people or making them excluded from the infrastructure is the question that we need to ask. And it is a question of implementation and not a question of technology. Because technologically, we have enabled digital infrastructure and we have created technological solution which global countries are looking up to. They want to take Aadhaar, they want to take UPI, they want to take ONDC, they want to take DBT, all those things, right? Which is a great news. But when we talk about SDG, it is about implementation of enabling people to avail the digital public infrastructure, right? And that is the question that we need to ask. That out of 908 million rural India, how many of them have got connectivity or access? How many of them have got smartphone access? How many of them can have the ability to use digital infrastructure? Out of 320 million children who go to government schools, do they have digital infrastructure to study through digital education system? Or digital teaching system or digital content system, right? We have about a couple of million ASHA workers, which is the frontline health workers, who are they enabled with digital to provide e-health systems to the consumers that they have at a village level, right? As an inclusion, not as an exclusion, right? And therefore, we have about millions of SHG members, self-help group members, who are the backbone of MSMEs, right? Are they doing business online with ease? Is the question that we need to ask. And I can go on and on. Out of what, 514 million people who are covered under health, are they in a position to avail the health insurance through online and digital public infrastructure system? So my 2 minutes is gone, but the point is we need to basically ask this question ourselves to enable the DPI in an implementation mode in such a way that the masses can avail.
Fantastic. I think that's an extremely important point because DPI itself by nature means inclusion, but is it knowingly or unknowingly excluding people? How do we address it? And that is a matter of process. That's a matter of detailing. But one cannot disagree with you that those are important pieces, whether in health or primary education or any other sector of social sector, where DPIs can truly have much deeper access, much deeper impact. We will get to those questions in a few minutes, but I think thank you for setting the context and remind him of the recent G20 Digital Economy Ministers meeting outcome document that recognizes DPI as a tool to drive development and inclusion. You highlighted that how this may further need deeper access. I see your point there, but what strategies and partnerships can enhance the scalability and sustainability of DPI projects so that we can ensure their long-term impact on socioeconomic development, not only in India, but globally? Uh, can you provide your perspective on this question, Mr. Osama Manzar?
So, I mean, we must relish the fact that, we have got a responsibility to, transfer or expand DPI to the global, community. And it is a great responsibility apart from, and it's a big responsibility with an opportunity. So that also gives us to introspect and ask question that what are the mistakes that we have done which we should not do when we are implementing the same thing or same technology for other countries. In the light of the fact that when we offer DPI solutions, we offer it not only as a solution of technology, but we also offer a solution of democratic solution, right? Which actually ensures that it comes from a democratic country where people is at the heart of the solution, right? Targeting the people at the heart of the solution. And therefore, it may be very important for us to see that how we have implemented our own DPI internally and keep making those corrections and keep making those improvisation. Having said that, there are pillars of digital public infrastructure, which is a document which is co-developed by Parminder and my team and many other civil society organizations, which is in public domain, which clearly says that interoperability, privacy by design, open API, open source, and all those things. I mean, and all this actually in one line can be seen as a democratic solution, right? And we can take it to the people. But what is at the heart of the DPI solution is these two stanzas: access to right and right to access, right? We have a lot of rights. We have right to information, we have right to health, we have right to food, we have right to education, we have right to so many things. But do we have access to them, access to those rights? Because access in bracket is now digital public infrastructure, right? Now, I mean, I have right to my own money in my bank, but I can't access it because it's dependent on, digital infrastructure, which is UPI, and it is not available in my mobile, or my mobile is not available to me, So it is very important that we look at that how we actually operationalize access to rights in a manner that we have right to access, right? It's very important to that. So, I would say that these two actually is the hallmark of making DPI work for the people and by the people. and not make it a technological, ego boosting, upmanship to say that we have the best solution for the world and we have the best solution that we have implemented, because India can always show the number. We can always tell the world that we are the most connected country, correct? But below that, I can also say we are the most unconnected country, because that population is also equally high, right? We can say that we have so many transactions on UPI online, which is correct. But below that, I can also align there are so many people we can't do UPI transaction, which is also correct. So we, because of the largeness of the numbers we have on both sides of the availability and non-availability, our paradox with digital public infrastructure must lie on access to rights and right to access.
I want to bring back one of the original points Osama mentioned about how can the DPIs really make a deeper impact. Therefore, what digital innovations in DPI can help attaining SDGs? I'm linking, Osama, your point to now specifically to SDGs, and that in some sense subsumes the point you were mentioning, the access. If you don't have the access, even though DPI may be there, but you still are deprived of the benefit. So therefore, what digital innovations in the DPI can help attaining SDGs in India, and keeping in mind the significant digital divide which you have consistently mentioned between urban and rural areas? So let's talk about solutions. What can be done about it, Osama? Over to you.
You know what? I think I have only one answer: to go public. So, in the sense that we all know public transportation system, we all know public access system, we all know, public ATM system, or so on and so forth. So I think there are two approaches to make the rights accessible through digital infrastructure, is to create a mass scale digital access points, right? And also enable it into all line of ministries or categories, in the sense that in agriculture, in finance, in MSMEs, in health, in education, and so on and so forth, and actually try to make the digital infrastructure or a public infrastructure or a public good or a digital solution available to those sectoral experts than the technological experts or the solution provider expertise. So, for example, education department or Ministry of Education should take a call that how we can use digital public infrastructure to enable my masses or my constituency to help them, right? And I will give you one very strong example, is that such a beautiful system of having BharatNet of India, right? It was supposed to provide access at a panchayat level, which is, for others to know, that village council level, right? Which is the last mile of accessing the village people or rural people. If you look at those entire project, which is going on for more than a decade and still not accomplished, is basically trying to create a situation of public access available to people. But if you go to its implementation, the main stakeholder, which is panchayat itself, or the people at the panchayat itself, is not even a part of the stakeholdership of taking the responsibility of taking the ownership of that connectivity and taking the access to the rest of the people, right? And that is where I want to make a point, is that this entire angle of looking at digital public infrastructure as a technological solution to become a public good in the hands of the people and the line areas to take the full responsibility of using it for their own purpose, and repurpose it or contextualize it, and so on and so forth, right? It should not be a top-down centralized implementation system, but a bottom-up, bottom-up system, which is what we call in a community radio, we always say by the community, for the community, and so on and so forth. So similarly, this technology, and like Parminder initially said, the real infrastructure is that when you forget it, you don't remember it. That's the publicization of the real infrastructure of availability of the people. And the second part is, do not create an exclusionary policy. For example, we cannot say that you can only make payment through digital. We cannot say that you can only take your vaccination through COVID registration. We cannot say that you can only pass your exam by logging in on a computer and on a website and giving examination or a test, right? And so on and so forth. So one is that the approach is going public at a mass scale, but at the same time, the policy should not be exclusionary from that perspective. Yeah.
How can the institution of VIPSA be utilized to keep up the momentum? Very short reflections. First, can I request Osama?
We are going quite good. There is not much of a suggestion that I have, but one thing that we need to do is that we must create a policy of inclusion and not an exclusion. That's for sure. The second is that India is a oral country, and as you must have seen, that all the QR codes become so popular. We are from being a mobile country, we have become a QR code country. In between, we had a WhatsApp country. We were also WhatsApp country, which was not so good in terms of just forwarding this information. But having said that, oralization of technology and publicization of technology, beside not making it exclusionary, and also create a situation of mass adoption in terms of it should be part of literacy everywhere, it should be part of public availability everywhere, and it should also give a very strong safety net. For example, the faster the mobile is going and the payment is going, equally faster the payment, the cyber fraud is going. And then people are becoming very hesitant on going online or doing things online. So and we are not a country where we have lived all our life without seeing the currency in our hand, right? So one is that digital currency already makes it ephemeral and not visible, and over and above that, you become vulnerable to online payments and cybercrime. It becomes very difficult. And so the short answer is that no exclusionary policy, lot of public access, publicization, and link it to the masses and mass institutions like panchayats, schools, and colleges, and so on and so forth.
I think overall a very enriching discussion. We have got some very specific suggestions and pointers, which we shall try to capture in a note and circulate. But overall, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Bye bye.